Chris Pratt has a superpower. His wit and straight-faced sarcasm is enough to disarm even the most hostile of his critics, and it seems like he's decided to use that power against a strand of the woke brigade coming after him. Now his recent films like Super Mario Bros. And The Terminal List have become yet another target, and Chris Pratt is absolutely coming prepared. The most frustrating yet hilarious meltdown probably happened over the Super Mario movie that came out last year, and I think it was evidence of the fact that there are some people you just can't make happy. So what was it this time? A section of the internet movie critics was ablaze during promotions that Chris Pratt did not do a good enough Italian accent for the Mario character. The movie makers were also in the line of fire for supposedly whitewashing the film by not using an Italian voice actor. When I first heard this, my mind immediately went to what would have happened if Chris actually did try doing an accent. Can you imagine the controversy then for appropriating and stereotyping the Italian accent for a film? It's a case of being damned if you do, damned if you don't. It's clear that even Chris Pratt understands the level at which a criticism like this deserves to be responded to, and that's exactly what he did. Here's how he subtly poked fun at the critics during an Instagram Live to reveal his Mario voice.
It's a Mario. That's not the voice. You'll have to wait to hear the voice.
If you've watched the film, it actually strikes a nice balance at retaining the original voice by Charles Martinet without sounding pretentious or try-hard. What's even more interesting is that a lot of real criticism has come before the movie even released, based off the trailer where we get to hear Mario's voice for only a few words. It was clear to anyone observing the whole saga that it wasn't a critique at the art, but the artist. It was Chris Pratt himself they thought was a misfit, and that means no matter which way his voice tilted, he was still going to land himself in trouble with that crowd. To the critics that hadn't even watched the films yet, Chris simply said this.
What do you say to the people who are saying they need to sound more Italian?
Come watch the movie. Go watch the movie, and then we can talk. I really think that, like, once you see the movie, and you know what? And in all honesty, I think you probably need to watch it twice. I think that, in all honesty, the answer, though, is that this is a passionate fan base, and it makes sense. Like, I understand, I'm part of it.
You know what gave away the real reason a part of the audience was coming after him? It's when you place the Super Mario Bros. Controversy in the context of other things that were happening around Chris Pratt, especially his position in the rest of Hollywood. Just a few years prior to Mario, Chris had become familiar with that sensitive strand of his audience that is quick to come after him, and that happened when his rather harmless routine of making his social media followers guess his evening snack became a subject of criticism for his supposed insensitivity. The hashtag What's My Snack posts by Chris were seen as inconsiderate to people that may not have the same quality meals as the Hollywood star. It was apparent to him now that it wasn't worth a response more than well-placed satire, and that's what he did. Here's what Chris Pratt said out loud to his online critics, coming back at them with a straight-faced satirical apology and yet not giving them any more ammo.
I want to say thank you to the people in my comments who've taken the brave step to let me know how insensitive it is for me to continue with What's My Snack. Not today, not now. We don't need humor. What we need is awareness, more awareness of just how bad things are. And that awareness is not going to come with me doing What's My Snack. Today's snack is prawns. I'm going to take a moment of silence for the prawns and the people who commented.
But there may be an even greater reason why Chris Pratt is sometimes made to feel like a misfit in the inner Hollywood, and that is his open reverence for Christ in his life. Now, in an industry where it's easy for stars to feel consumed by their own success and fame, Chris Pratt has made sure several times to tell them who they owe their success to. He made quite a few waves a few years ago with his God is Real speech at the MTV Awards. There was a swath of the audience that loved him for reviving and asserting the value of God in front of a packed Hollywood crowd, but there were certainly a subset of people that weren't too happy with it. Watch a part of that speech here and tell me if there's anything at all here to criticize.
Learn to pray. It's easy, and it's so good for your soul. And finally, number 9, nobody is perfect. People are going to tell you you're perfect just the way you are. You're not. You are imperfect. You always will be, but there is a powerful force that designed you that way. And if you're willing to accept that, you will have grace. And grace is a gift. And like the freedom that we enjoy in this country, that grace was paid for with somebody else's blood. Do not forget it.
I don't think there is, because the fact is that there's always going to be a subset of people that see something shady in even the best of words. The idea of God being in ultimate control of our life and deference to his will in our life and career isn't a popular idea among the Hollywood elites. In an industry where almost every other award acceptance speech by actors is shot through with political activist talking points and social agendas, it's really something to see Chris Pratt's words stick out and be a subject of ridicule. He's developed that image of the nice Christian boy in the industry that just doesn't fit well with the rest of the crowd. Despite this, it is clear that Chris has learned the best way to deal with it, not shooting back angrily or defensively, but with sarcasm and a sense of humor. But still, it can't be easy being called Hollywood's least favorite Chris. He's relatively young, being in his early 40s, and likely has decades of work ahead of him. That means more online controversies, an elaborate career arc, and a finding of his place in the world's largest film industry. Chris Pratt certainly has a long road ahead of him, and it's going to take a firm will to stand his ground and remain his authentic self. There's always going to be pushback, ridicule, and even a degree of isolation in that pursuit, but as he steps in the later stage of his life and career, these are qualities he'll need to forge as an actor in an industry that is incredibly competitive and ruthless. I think he's grown more mature over the years and more capable of defending himself to carve out his space. Look at his recent selection of films, and it's evident the evolution you see over his last 2 decades. Right now, Chris Pratt is another name that's not in the good books of a certain woke strand of the left, but that's precisely why he needs to stand firm on what he does and believes. If that means being the odd one out and occasionally sparring with woke critics on social media, that's what Chris is clearly willing to do.